now the BBC News at 10 with Clive Myrie.
At 10, the Conservatives suffer one of their worst set of local election results in decades as Labour wins new councillors across the country. They're celebrating winning control of Tory blue areas and holding on to others that were Labour red.
Here in Redditch, Labour made big gains to win control of the council. They'll be hoping it's a sign they can win back parliamentary seats like this too at the general election.
And there was a massive swing of over 26% to Labour in the Blackpool South by-election. But some cheer for the Tories as Ben Houchen holds on to the Mayor's office in Tees Valley.
And I'll be here looking at some of the results in more detail to see what it might mean for the parties at the general election.
Also tonight, a former post office lawyer is accused of lying over the Horizon IT scandal.
Mr. Singh, are you going to tell the truth today?
Jainil Singh was involved in prosecuting an innocent woman. He says he didn't lie.
Will you marry me?
And will he or won't he? The last ever episode of Gavin and Stacey is coming this Christmas.
On BBC London, we'll bring you some of the election results from across our area and football, music and gaming. Stormzy shows us his dream for Croydon's youngsters.
Good evening to you. Two very different moods tonight in the Conservative and Labour camps after the local and mayoral elections. Rishi Sunak says it's disappointing to lose good, hard-working councillors after what's been a painful set of results so far for his party, some of the worst Tory losses in England for decades. On the other side, Labour are jubilant, cock-a-hoop at their gains across the country, including in the Blackpool South by-election, overturning a Conservative majority with a colossal 26% swing. Well, this is the latest state of play, with the Conservatives down 436 councillors and Labour up 169. Well, we're going to be digging deep into the numbers and taking a look at what the results could mean for a coming general election. And as ever, our guide through it all is Chris Mason. Chris, it's been a long night and it's not over.
It isn't over. Evening to you, Clive. We should take a little step back before we dive into all of the detail. When Rishi Sunak became Prime Minister, he had two aims. The first was to steady the ship of government after all of the turbulence of Boris Johnson and Liz Truss, and arguably he achieved that. The other aim was to revive Conservative fortunes. And on that side of the ledger, he stares at failure and consistent failure. You look back at the local elections of a year ago, they were dire for him. You look at most of the by-elections of the last 12 months, equally pretty dire. And then today, the results of the last 24 hours, really pretty desperate from a Conservative perspective. As far as Labour are concerned, not only are they doing pretty well, they've discovered the knack of efficiency when it comes to votes. What do I mean by that? I mean that they are managing to win in areas that they need to win if they're going to win the general election, as opposed to piling up votes in places that they were winning already, effectively inefficient votes. Then there's the other parties, they are pretty chipper too. So lots of detail to get into, but here is the story of the last 24 hours. North Allerton in North Yorkshire this afternoon. The Prime Minister lives a few miles away, and look who's turned up to rub his nose in it. York and North Yorkshire, the wider county so often rock-solid Conservative, has elected a Labour mayor.
We've had really good results across the country all day long, but this is a very, very special moment, David, to become the mayor here. And thank you to the team for all the fantastic work that they have done. Because through the villages and the towns of North Yorkshire, people have voted for change.
There have been smiles and red rosettes all over the place, taking the council in the military town of Aldershot in Hampshire, taking 9 police and crime commissioner roles from the Conservatives, including here in Cumbria, and on the south coast in Ada in West Sussex, where they've never won before. But 5 independent candidates standing on a pro-Gaza platform cost Labour control in Oldham in Greater Manchester. There's evidence Labour's stance on Gaza has had an impact, particularly in places with a significant Muslim population. Earlier, Keir Starmer was in Blackpool to celebrate winning a Westminster seat there. Winning wasn't surprising. The scale of Labour's victory was. The mood music for the Prime Minister, pretty dire then. Rishi Sunak was in Catterick Garrison in North Yorkshire.
Obviously, it's disappointing to lose good, hard-working Conservative councillors, and I'm grateful to them for all their service in local government, keeping council tax low and delivering services for local people. But we've still got lots of results to come.
One of their few islands of optimism in a sea of gloom, the Tees Valley. The Conservative Ben Houchen wearing victory but not a Tory rosette. He won by 1,000,000 miles last time. It was much closer this time. And he had this message for the Prime Minister.
The people that I'm hearing that may not be thinking about voting Conservative or are currently thinking whether they want to vote Conservative at the next general election, they want more progress. We need to give them the excuse to vote for us, and we haven't quite given them that excuse yet.
And in classic marginal Harlow in Essex, the Conservatives managed to cling on. Just. The Liberal Democrats delight in the less than subtle photo opportunity. Here they are in Winchester in Hampshire.
Let's make this Conservative government history!
They're suggesting here the Conservatives are soon to be as dead as, yes, the dinosaurs, and point to gains they're making at the Tories' expense.
In so many parts of the country, it'll be Conservative MPs worried about Liberal Democrats. Across the southeast, the Blue Wall, the southwest, in many other parts of the country where we are the challengers of the Conservatives, people know that if they want to get rid of this awful Conservative government and make them history, they should vote Liberal Democrat.
And tonight, the Lib Dems took control in Tunbridge Wells in Kent. Reform UK, the successor to the Brexit Party, gives some Conservatives the collywobbles. They came within a whisker of beating the Tories in the Blackpool by-election.
What's rapidly becoming clear is basically, as more people hear us about reform, we're becoming the real opposition to the Labour Party in the North, in the Midlands, in Wales. We're on the way up, and it's quite clear that the Tories are on the way down.
And the Green Party is volunteering a bow. This is Hastings in East Sussex. The trend of the Greens' steady rise in local politics continues.
A fantastic set of results for the Green Party, the 5th local election in a row where we scored a record number of Green councillors being elected, winning seats in all corners of the country from Labour and from the Conservatives, in rural and urban areas alike.
The democratic process comes with certain rituals: colour, stamina and sleep deprivation, and winners clutching babies. There are yet more results to come tomorrow. Chris Mason, BBC News.
Well, we're racing towards all the councils declaring in this year's elections. 101 of the 107 have revealed their results, with Labour gaining their 48 and the Conservatives losing 9. Let's take a closer look at Redditch in Worcestershire. Here, Labour took control from the Conservatives with a huge majority, winning 21 of the 27 seats up for grabs. The incoming Labour leader says he's overwhelmed by the size of the win. Leila Nathu has been speaking to voters there.
With the weather in Redditch as bleak as the result for the Tories here, it's little wonder that few braved it to the shops today. How best to breathe new life into the town centre was one of the key issues at the local elections. Labour secured a resounding victory, seizing the council from the Conservatives. At the Three Cooks Cafe, business has slowed. Manager Janine thinks Redditch has been shortchanged by those who've been in charge.
It feels like this town's rotting and it doesn't feel like we're going forward. Something needed to happen because it's like it's stuck in a rut. And I think change is only good when you're in that position.
Her customers too wanted to see fresh thinking.
They didn't listen to people. They didn't listen to us when we said we wanted the library to stay where it is.
Nobody's doing nothing to help the country. The homeless people on the streets. People are working just to pay their bills, just to survive.
Here in Redditch, Labour promised voters it would restore an outdoor market that used to be here and to try to stop the library just down there from being demolished and relocated. This is exactly the kind of place that will decide the outcome of the next general election. It's somewhere Labour will need to win back to get into government. Down the road, a bit of light rain isn't knocking practice off course at the Redditch Bowling Club. The town has had a Conservative MP since 2010. Labour now has its eye on that prize.
Redditch used to be Labour many years ago, so I think that swing back is how people in this country are feeling. And I think the challenge is the issues that we've got in Redditch mirror what's going on in the rest of the country.
I think you've had 14 years of the Conservatives. They've tried austerity. They've sort of almost imposed Brexit. They sort of partied through COVID, and I think people are just about fed up with it now, really.
I will vote for who's going to put this country into the strongest position it can be.
So there's still time for parties to make their case to you?
Yeah, I think parties have still got time. I definitely think they've still got time.
The Conservatives insist it's all still to play for, but as today's results show, it's proving hard to persuade voters to choose them. Leila Nathu, BBC News in Redditch.
Well, Labour have also dominated most of the mayoral races declared so far, winning 3 out of 4, but they couldn't unseat the Conservatives' Ben Houchen, who would have held on in Tees Valley, providing a rare bright spot for Rishi Sunak. As Danny Savage reports from Norton in Stockton-on-Tees.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's absolutely great to be here with your re-elected Mayor of Teesside.
It's the patch that's provided a rare win on a bad day for the Conservatives, one worthy of a visit from the Prime Minister. Ben Houchen was re-elected as mayor, a Conservative mayor.
So relieved, humbled, proud to get third term as the Tees Valley mayor.
Ben Houchen is a local lad. He was born here on Teesside and has campaigned for things like improvements to local hospitals and the local airport. But the question now is, can votes for a local Conservative politician stay with the party when it comes to a general election?
It's a different dynamic, isn't it? The local politics are a lot different to Westminster.
I think they forget that he's a Tory.
In a local pub this afternoon, they were happy to talk politics. Did you vote for Ben Houchen?
Yes, I did.
Does that mean that you would necessarily vote for the Conservatives in a general election scenario?
No, definitely not.
Why?
Because I have different views from Conservatives in the general election to what I do to Ben.
It was a warm afternoon in the north. Time for a reflective pint. Do you think the people that voted Conservative for Ben Houchen will necessarily vote Conservative in a general election?
Almost certainly.
You think they will?
Well, yeah, I think they probably will. Yeah, I do, as a matter of fact, yeah.
The boost to the economy, in my opinion, by what he's done for the airport has been marvellous.
Mum and daughter Jill and Rebecca run a business together. When it comes to the next vote, it's going to be the economy that keeps them sweet.
The national living wage has just gone up, but then I've got to find that in my business to pay my staff. Food's going up, the cost of everything's going up, petrol's going back up again.
This is one of Ben Houchen's election leaflets. You can probably tell it's a Tory one by the colours, but the word Conservative appeared only in the very small print on the last page.
Look at what happened in the early 2000s, the local councils.
This was a personality-led local campaign. Can the Conservatives learn lessons from it? Danny Savage, BBC News, Teesside.
So, what can we read into the results we've had so far, and what do they tell us about the state of the party's fortunes as we approach a general election? Well, Vicky Young is here with more details. Vicky.
Well, Clive, there's no doubt that these local elections will affect the mood of the parties as we head towards a general election. A quick look at the vote share and the story's obvious. Labour up and the Conservatives down, with small increases for the other parties too. It's useful, though, to look at some results in more detail. Milton Keynes has gone from a hung council to a Labour majority. It's the kind of seat Labour is particularly pleased to win because it's where they'll be in a direct battle with the Tories at a general election. So the BBC has done analysis of what the council result here could mean in the parliamentary seat of Milton Keynes North. It shows a Labour win, which would almost certainly mean that they'd be forming the next government. There have, though, been 2 Labour council losses so far in Oldham and Kirklees. So how worried should Keir Starmer be about that? If we look at the Oldham result, Labour is still the largest party, but not in overall control. There's no doubt some voters here are unhappy with the party's stance on Gaza and have turned to independent candidates. But it's worth remembering it's much harder for an independent candidate to break through at a general election, and that could help Labour. Now, there is a nightmare scenario for the Conservatives, battling it out with Labour, but with the Liberal Democrats also snatching their votes. Look what's happened to the Conservative vote in council wards where the Lib Dems were their main challenger. And they're also under pressure from Reform. Here's what happened to the Tory vote in places where Reform stood. So overall, a bad night for the Conservatives, with their vote splintering in several directions. Clive.
All right, Vicky, thank you. Vicky Young, our Deputy Political Editor there. Well, we're going to get a final word now from Chris. It's been a long day, but we've actually got some pretty important mayoral results expected on Saturday.
We have, yeah, so this is not yet over. So plenty of races to be mayor still to be counted. Liverpool, South Yorkshire, Greater Manchester, West Yorkshire, Salford, the West Midlands and London. Quick word about London. The Conservatives reckon it could be much, much closer than some opinion polls have been suggesting. The polls had suggested that Labour's Sadiq Khan, who's been the mayor for some time, was well ahead. We shall see when the voting starts, or the counting, I should say, starts tomorrow. And then in the West Midlands, the Conservatives appear relatively hopeful that Andy Street will hang on there. Labour think that they have been punished particularly by voters in Birmingham over the local authority. Labour run the council in Birmingham. They've had to crank up council tax. They've had to cut services. They think they have been punished for that. There is also still a smattering of council results still to come in, and a whole load of police and crime commissioners as well.
Sure. We heard Vicky and analyse what these results could mean longer term, perhaps in a general election. With all that in mind, what do you think the mood is in the Conservative and Labour camps tonight?
So mood in the Conservative Party first, because this was always going to be key for the Prime Minister. Where did it leave the mentality, the mindset of particularly Conservative MPs who hold his fate in the very short term in their hands? I do not detect any sense of an insurrection amongst Conservative MPs thinking, my goodness, it's so bad, we've got to get rid of the Prime Minister. That's not to say they're not quite bleak, but they don't think that that would be a good idea. One senior figure saying to me tonight, the Conservative MPs are remarkably chilled. One former cabinet minister described the results as not catastrophic, whilst also tacitly accepting that they did think that the Conservatives would lose the general election. Labour are confident that they are on course for winning a majority at the general election. So in summary, I think the last 24 hours has cemented the status quo. Labour are buoyant. The Conservatives are pretty morose. And then there is the big picture thought, Clive, that we cannot forget in the next couple of months. Wherever the opinion polls ebb and flow to and wherever the results go tomorrow, Labour face the most almighty mountain that they have to climb and reach the summit of if they're going to win the general election, even win it modestly. That's the core fact that should define all of the conversations about politics in the coming weeks and months. But they have grounds on the basis of the last 24 hours to be confident.
All right. Chris, I hope you get some sleep.
So do I.
It's good to see you. Chris Mason, our political editor. On to other news now, and a former lawyer for the Post Office has been accused at the inquiry into the Horizon IT scandal of telling a big fat lie about not knowing that there was a bug in the software. Jarnail Singh was directly involved in prosecuting a pregnant sub-postmistress back in 2010. The bug was not disclosed at the trial of Seema Misra, who was wrongfully convicted of theft and false accounting. Mr. Singh denies the allegations made against him. Here's Emma Simpson.
Mr. Singh, are you going to tell the truth today? The questions are mounting for the former Post Office senior lawyer, Jarnail Singh, beginning with this one.
You were covering it up in 2013 and 2015, weren't you?
No, I wasn't covering it.
You were covering up your own guilty knowledge.
No, I wasn't.
It's all to do with the case against Seema Misra, which he helped prepare. She was sent to prison in 2010, 8 weeks pregnant. She'd blamed Horizon for her losses. But shortly before her trial came this report written by Fujitsu engineer Gareth Jenkins about a bug affecting branch accounts and how he could use remote access to fix it. And then here's a note about the meeting that followed, warning about the potential impact upon ongoing legal cases. The inquiry saw how it was all forwarded in this email to Jarnail Singh, the header showing it printed minutes later.
I don't recall seeing it, don't recall printing it.
This was saved in your drive, wasn't it?
I don't even know what you're talking about, because I don't know how to do these things worked.
You don't know how to save a document?
No.
This was just 3 days before Seema's trial. The material was never disclosed. It could have stopped her wrongful conviction and many others that followed.
All of this, if I received it, if I read it, is a big fat lie, isn't it? And
No, sir.
You know it, Mr. Singh.
Sir, I didn't come here to lie. I'm at an age where I have come to assist the inquiry.
He said he didn't know about the bug for another few years. A hard watch for Seema and her husband here today.
Did you believe him?
No. They didn't care, like they're sending an innocent person to the prison. All they were concerned about the Horizon name to be saved.
But Jarnail Singh did say this.
I admit mistakes were made, and I'm ever so sorry that Mrs. Myrie had suffered. And I am ever so embarrassed to be here.
A bruising day for a lawyer who says he can't remember many of the details. Emma Simpson, BBC News at the Post Office inquiry.
A teenager who stabbed Myrie Roynan, who was 16, to death in Bath in Somerset last year, has been detained for life at Bristol Crown Court. Shane Cunningham was ordered to serve a minimum of 16 years before being considered for parole. Two others, Cartel Bushnell and Leo Knight, who were 15 at the time of the attack, were sentenced to 9 years for manslaughter. Dan Johnson was in court.
Myrie Roynan's family came here every day of the 4-week trial. Today they were in court to hear how long his teenage killers will serve.
Love you too. Love you. Wait, love you.
Myrie was just 16 years old.
He was a live wire, so he loved, being out on a bike or a scooter.
Last June, he went to a party in Bath with friends. There, they came across this group from Wiltshire.
This is the ambulance service. Is the patient breathing?
There was a violent confrontation and Myrie was stabbed in the neck.
They've just been stabbed at a house party, please.
I had loads of missed calls. I rang Mike's phone and his friend answered and he said, Mike has been stabbed. I was like, is he okay? Is he okay? And he said, he's gone, Hayley, he's gone. And I put the phone down on him because I didn't want to hear that. I didn't believe it.
It was Shane Cunningham who stabbed Myrie, he claimed, in self-defence, but he was convicted of murder. Cartel Bushnell and Leo Knight were given 9 years for manslaughter for encouraging and supporting the attack.
Why would you take a knife to a 16-year-old's birthday party? Why would you need to have a knife in a house party? Yeah, that is shocking.
Was it you that stabbed him in the neck?
Shane Cunningham didn't give any answers in custody or in court, so we may never know what sparked the confrontation. The judge passed a life sentence and said he must serve at least 16 years.
Bristol and its surrounding areas are in the middle of a plague of knife crime. The plague has continued since this trial finished. The lives of young boys who carry knives continue to be taken at the hands of other boys who carry knives.
How do you feel about the sentences that were given today?
My immediate reaction was it doesn't make any difference, but it does make a difference. But Mike's life's gone forever and, they'll get theirs back at some point.
This family's campaigning now to highlight knife crime and how many children are armed and prepared to take lives. Dan Johnson, BBC News at Bristol Crown Court.
The actor Kevin Spacey has given a television interview saying he's been basely attacked ahead of a documentary due to be released next week, which appears to make new claims about his behaviour. He was found not guilty at Southwark Crown Court last year after 4 men accused him of a number of sexual offences. Katie Razzle is here with me. What more did he have to say then?
Well, Clive, we've known since 2022 that this documentary was being made about Kevin Spacey, and it starts on Monday. Just yesterday, the actor went on to X, formerly Twitter, to complain that he'd been given 7 days to respond to allegations in the programme that he says date back 48 years. Now he's given this lengthy interview, as you say, to the former GB News presenter Dan Wootton. It was released just in the last few hours, and he's effectively saying he will no longer be speechless. Have a listen.
I've been mired in litigation for years and years and years and was just unable to speak in a public forum. And look, I'd also be just fine to humbly return to work and be grateful without saying anything, but I can't go through this again, allowing myself to be baselessly attacked without defending myself. If I was really this monster and everyone knew about it, then why aren't people asking questions about the networks and the studios who were all too happy to monetize off of me while allowing me to roam the streets freely?
Well, Clive, my understanding is that 10 men, 9 of whom have never spoken publicly before, have given interviews to Channel 4, and that the programme focuses on the men's claims of inappropriate abuse of power in the workplace by Kevin Spacey. So the focus isn't criminality. Now, as you said, he was acquitted last year in a trial in Southwark Crown Court. And after that, my understanding is there were discussions by the programme makers about how to proceed, but they decided it was in the public interest to carry on based on the breadth of testimony that they've gathered. But Mr. Spacey has clearly decided attack is the best form of defence. He's saying, he's not behaved illegally, and his lawyers are saying tonight that there was no public interest in the public being, as they put it, misinformed with the publication of what they call false and unverified allegations. And they say Kevin Spacey's been left with little choice but to make his own public statement.
Sure. OK. Katie, thank you. Katie Russell, our culture editor there. Now, it's a big day tomorrow for Ipswich Town's footballers on the brink of promotion back to the Premier League. A win or draw against Huddersfield will seal the deal, with the whole of Ipswich seemingly willing to push them on. Here's Laura Scott.
They haven't had to wait, but it seems these school children more than understand the weight of what this weekend could mean for the whole of Ipswich.
We haven't been in the Premier League for like 22 years, so that would be a very good achievement.
It's going to be really cool to be back in the Premier League playing with all these really cool clubs.
On the eve of the final promotion push, a plea from the club's chief executive in their morning assembly.
And make as much noise as you can tomorrow for us. Can you do that for us?
Yeah. We are trying to rebuild a monster of a football club that has been run down and at times neglected. But what we have found is an incredible fan base that shocks and surprises us. And tomorrow, we've got to go once more.
Ipswich is where Sir Bobby Robson made his name as a manager. His triumphs here inspired the current man in charge, Kieran McKenna, whose side need just one more point to reach the top flight.
We know that the next step is a huge one, and it would take an awful amount of work again. But that's exciting. It's exciting to be part of this project, to be leading the project, and we want to continue that.
Helping the club go global is local lad Ed Sheeran, who sponsors the front of their shirts and is actually named as a member of the playing squad. And he's not the only one bringing their star power to Portman Road.
He does it because he loves the club, and the same with me. I represent them on my shorts and take them around the world and however I can, because I'm a hometown boy, same as him, and we all support our own.
As the Tractor Boys try to plough their way to the Premier League, the players might be keeping their feet on the ground. Not sure the same can be said for the rest of the town. Laura Scott, BBC News, Ipswich.
There's good news for the millions of fans of the TV comedy Gavin and Stacey. One of the stars, the actor James Corden, has announced there'll be one more episode of the show to be aired on Christmas Day. The big question, of course, is, will Smithy accept Nessa's marriage proposal? Here's Thomas Morgan.
I loves you. With all my heart.
5 years ago, almost 19 million watched on as Nessa put it all on the line.
Will you marry me?
A finale's been rumoured for some time. In February, though, the show's writer and cast member Ruth Jones brushed it off. Today, however, in a social media post alongside fellow star James Corden, they confirmed that cliffhanger would be resolved. A cult favourite, it's brought viewers to this Welsh seaside town.
I'm so excited! I'm just excited to find out what's occurring.
Do you think it's a yes?
I hope so.
And let's hope they have a nice big curry after.
The success of the show has been based on not only the main characters, Gavin and Stacey, but the role of the supporting cast, the likes of Nessa, Smithy and Uncle Bryn.
I wake up in the morning and think, lush, I'm in Barry.
And not going to lie, it has been lush for Barry. The slot machines, ice cream parlours and the beaches have become stars in their own right. Over the years, the programme's won multiple awards, with that historic proposal scene winning a BAFTA voted for by the public in 2020.
Gaveler and Day. So those catchphrases.
Oh, what's occurring?
And that cast will grace our screens once more for one final time.
I won't lie, you're not everyone's cup of tea, but at the end of the day, when all's said and done, you're tidy.
Thomas Morgan, BBC News, Barry Island.
And I know it's been complicated.
What did happen to Uncle Bryn? Anyway, time for the weather.
And this isn't Barry Island either, but this is Western Scotland, where once again we had the highest temperatures of 23 degrees. Now, yesterday we had 23 degrees in Suffolk, but today the temperature was 11 because of all the cloud and the rain, and we've still got some of that around at the moment. It is moving very slowly northwards. There's some heavier showers for a while across Scotland, Northern England and Northern Ireland. Clearer skies in the south will lead to a few mist and fog patches, and it will turn a bit chilly in the West Country, 2 or 3 degrees here, but there'll be some sunshine on the way tomorrow. We've got more cloud though further north. We've got some rain coming into Northern Ireland, some heavier showers pushing across Scotland, maybe a bit drier in Northern England and North Wales, but we've got sunshine further south. The cloud will bubble up though, and we'll see a few showers in the southeast of England. But at least it's going to be warmer in the sunshine through the Midlands, Southern England, South Wales and East Anglia, and we could see 19 degrees in the northwest of Scotland ahead of those heavy showers. There's a bit more cloud still across northern areas on Sunday, but it should brighten up a bit more. That in turn though will lead to more heavy showers developing. The odd shower across England and Wales, and we've also got this patchy rain heading into the southwest that will keep the temperatures a little bit lower. But widely those temperatures are going to be 16 to 18 degrees on Sunday. It's going to be a warmer day for northern parts of England, but the winds are very light, and we've got this weather front here bringing the rain into the south, and that's going to move a bit further north. Not quite sure how far north this showery rain is going to get, but as you move northwards across the UK, yes, there'll be some sunshine at times, but there will be these slow moving heavy thundery showers again in Scotland, and those temperatures for Bank Holiday Monday typically 15 to 17 Celsius. Clive.
All right, Darren, thank you, Darren Bet there. That's it. Now though, let's join our colleagues across the nations and regions for all the news where you are. Have a very good night.
And welcome to BBC London. Good evening. Tonight we begin with the local elections from around London in areas covering Berkshire, Hertfordshire, Essex and Surrey. In Berkshire, Labour kept control of Reading Borough Council. The Lib Dems have held Watford, Woking and St Albans councils. And the Tories just held on to Broxbourne in Hertfordshire, but the party lost a lot of seats in Essex. With the picture there, here's Simon Dedman.
Harlow, a classic blue-red fight for control of the council. With the polls pointing towards Labour, the fact that both the main parties were saying this was a surprise.
It's very close in a lot of areas, but, you know, those are areas where, 3 years ago we didn't do well. So it just shows how far as a local party we've come. And actually, I think we can be optimistic that, at very least we'll make gains tonight and run them close.
It was even between Labour and the Conservatives. It was all coming down to one ward. The pressure showing on the politicians for a win. After recounts, it was the Conservatives who came out on top by just a couple of dozen votes.
I think this was an election for Harlow Council, and the Harlow Conservatives have won that election talking about the things people care most about: rebuilding the town centre, Harlow homes for Harlow people, freezing council tax.
In Southend, Labour took seats off the Tories and became the largest party. In indebted Thurrock, Labour won a landslide.
Here in Thurrock, we've had the double whammy of a Conservative council that has led us into a historic bankruptcy. We've paid 18% more in council tax over the last 2 years, and our services have been cut to the absolute bone.
The Conservatives have been absolutely decimated across Essex. In Castle Point, they haven't won a single seat in a council that they ran for 2 decades, up to 2022. And here in Basildon, they've lost their majority. The Conservatives lost half their seats here, including a cabinet member.
A lot of it's been down to a tide of national politics, really, that we've been competing with.
Labour are now the largest party.
I'm not going to pretend that the Conservative Party went into this election really popular, right? They didn't do that. But equally, there isn't a groundswell of support for the Labour Party. We knew that as well going into the election. So that's why we focused really, really heavily on the local issue around the waste service. And it's paid dividends tonight with 18 councillors elected for the Labour Party.
The Conservative leader of Basildon has his bags packed and is on his way out of office. Simon Dedman, BBC London, Essex.
Well, to check council election results in your area, head to the BBC News website. Simply put your postcode into the webpage there. Well, the election results for the London Mayor will start being counted tomorrow morning. We know turnout was 40.5%. Keep refreshing our website for the very latest, and there'll be a special programme on BBC Radio London from 6 p.m. on Saturday with Eddie Nesta. In other news, a woman is in a life-threatening condition after she was hit by a double-decker bus outside Victoria Station this morning. The pedestrian was treated at the scene and then taken by ambulance to a major trauma centre. It's the third recent serious crash involving a bus and pedestrian outside the train station. A man who was badly injured in a sword attack in Hainault has today thanked NHS staff and police for saving his life in a social media post from his hospital bed. Henry de los Rios Polania has been protecting his family from an attacker. A 14-year-old boy was killed by a knife man in the area early on Tuesday. Next, he's a towering figure in the music industry with 3 Brit Awards under his belt, but also a proud Londoner who's championed providing opportunities for young people. And Stormzy's latest project in Croydon, just minutes from where he grew up, has community at the heart of it. The BBC Sports reporter Nesta McGregor has more.
Here it is, man. This is you. This is Stormzy.
This is it.
Sport has always been close to the rapper's heart, and so too the memories of growing up in South London. Both played a vital role in this, his latest project. A state-of-the-art facility with football pitches, a recording studio and a gaming centre.
I can't lie, when I walked in here the first time, I was like, nah, this is sick.
Located in Croydon, his hometown, the 30-year-old describes this as his way of giving back, primarily for teens and young adults, although open to residents of all ages.
I think that's what I'm most proud of about it, the fact that it is community. Do you know what I mean? It's us, and it's a big brand, but it is community.
It's very good. I'm so excited to be here. GCSE's coming up, so just like a good space to clear the mind.
It's great because not many people put time into the youth. And for Stormzy to create a facility where we can just come, if we don't want to be on the streets, we could come here, play PS4, play football. It's just great.
The beauty of sport is it connects people together. The beauty of music, exactly the same. Massive clash of those two things together in one space gives everyone an opportunity.
You grew up not far from here. The fact that you've now left this for the community, how does that rank amongst some of your accolades?
It's up there. I don't say it just to say it. I say it in the most genuine way, because I think things like this, especially when it's tangible, it's just, what it does for the spirit and the soul is just, you can't even describe it.
A check on the weather now with Darren Betts.
Hello there. It is going to be warmer for us this weekend. There'll be some sunshine at times, but there will be some showers around as well. The rain that we had earlier today has moved away, and with clear skies developing overnight, there'll be a few mist and fog patches. It's also going to be a little bit cooler as well. Now, the mist and fog that does form, I don't think it will last too long. We'll get the sunshine coming through, and as temperatures rise, we bubble up the cloud. That could lead to a few showers in the afternoon, 1 or 2 of them on the heavy side as well. The winds are going to be very light, and those temperatures are going to be higher than today, 16 or 17 degrees, and we'll keep those sort of temperatures right the way through the bank holiday weekend. I'm hopeful that it may well be dry on Sunday, but we're more likely to have some showers on Monday, and then it's going to get dry, warmer and sunnier.
Oh, good. OK, that's it from the late team. We'll be back tomorrow when we may have a London mayoral result. In the meantime, you can get the very latest on our website. And for now, we'll wish you a very good night.